Hey guys, today we're doing a chess game recap that I played on chess.com in the 30-minute format with really high accuracy. So, this was actually my second game against this opponent from Spain, and we did actually 3 games and I won all of them, so I had some really good success. So the game starts off with e4, e5, and I am playing my favorite Scotch. So, very beginner friendly, simple opening. And we get to the exchange variation. So here, black has many decent moves. They can go queen f6, they can go d6 or develop the knight. Though e7 is better because you avoid d5. However, my opponent here makes a mistake with h6. And the reason why it's a mistake is simply because it's just a waste of time. This move it doesn't help with anything. Bishop g5 is not possible anyway, because queen obviously guards. So I just get some free development. And, here it says bishop c4 is an accuracy, because basically it just says that it likes even though here it's kind of deciding like which is better, bishop c4 or knight c3, and it just kind of likes knight c3 better because it's like defending the pawn. I honestly can't really explain what is the big difference, but well, it's stockfish. So what are you going to do about it? So anyways, I develop. My opponent goes d6, and now I go knight c3, still developing, and everything is really good here. Now my opponent goes knight f6, and now here the best move in this position is e5. And the really simple reason is that, okay, yes, black can take, but black actually can't take, because very simply, I have a bishop check, winning back the pawn. Black cannot take the bishop, because then they would lose the queen. So they have to go king e7. And in this position, either queen takes queen is completely fine, because I give a check. Black has to take, the material is equal, and black can castle. But even better is to play queen c4, supporting the bishop, targeting this pawn, and it's kind of like a deep line. So Stockfish is saying that for some reason black has to go queen d4 here, offering a queen trade, lose a pawn, and then block, and then white can trade, or just take the pawn on. Sorry, white can't take the pawn because that would lose the bishop, I believe. Yes, because just king takes. So yes, it's like very difficult. But I did not go for this e5. Instead, I went for bishop f4. I was thinking about e5, because I wasn't calculating so deep, but I was still thinking that, my main idea was if I go here, boom, then actually instead of bishop takes f7, I was thinking about queen takes queen, king takes, and now I just try to develop the dark square bishop, or I can take the pawn, and then castle with check and try to play for some activity. But anyway, I went bishop f5, black develops, best move, bishop e7, and now I go for this e5. But here it's an inaccuracy, it's not it's not that good anymore, simply because here when black takes, then I don't have these kinds of tactics anymore, because the queen is defended by the bishop. And if I was to take just right here, however, this line, this is better for white now, right? Because I can immediately take back the pawn here, take the center pawn, but at the same time, black can castle here, so I don't have this positional advantage that I would have had. But, that's whatever. However, my opponent does not take, but goes c5, which is an inaccuracy, because it basically just weakens black, because now the d6 pawn is quite weak. It's not supported by other pawns. So here the best move is d1, and the next best move is queen d3. I go queen d2, which is the third best move, and I can't explain what is the difference between these moves. All that I knew was that I just wanted to keep my queen on this file, so that if pawn takes, then I can still trade queens like this. Now, and here, what black had to do was actually take this pawn, trade the queens, and now after bishop takes, I can take the pawn, and this is a very similar position to the one I showed earlier. Basically here, just black has this pawn on c4 for no reason. So that's kind of why this line is better for white. However, my opponent here blunders with knight h5. And the reason here is as following, that I can actually take this pawn now, and I'm threatening the bishop, and the pawn cannot be taken because I have two defenders versus two attackers, so that would just lose material. So here black goes for the best approach, knight takes bishop, I take back, and now I am threatening checkmate, or like almost checkmate. Black would have to go king d7, and I'm threatening the bishop at the same time. So the only move that doesn't really lose on the spot is to block with a bishop and avoid the checkmate. Meanwhile, getting the bishop out of danger, right? And here, I went knight e4, which is an excellent move. The best move here would have been knight d5. And I was really thinking about okay, so what is the difference, after analyzing in the game? Because for me, this move makes less sense because I'm blocking in my own bishop. However, why this is better is that here I am forcing black to castle, because I am threatening, let's say, some black tries to develop with bishop d7. Then I get this fork, and now black has to go king f8. I can just take the rook, and I'll be off material, and it's very, very pleasant. So here black has to castle, and then I can get this very nice sequence of trades where black structure is really bad, the king is castled into an open file, and I'm just enjoying life very much. I can castle queenside and start an attack. Everything is very good here. However, when I go knight e4, then I am not threatening this fork, and actually black doesn't have to castle here. It's not necessary. Even though castling, it's still, as you can see here, engine is still trying to decide if castling is best or or bishop d7. Also, it's not like very high def, but the idea is that here bishop d7 works, and if I still go for this set of trades, then yes, it's still obviously beneficial to me. But just with it, the difference is that black has not castled into that open lane, so black can also actually mirror me and castle queenside as well, and now, you know, this open file could actually be used with the rook. So that's the difference. Basically just that black can choose where to castle. But what happened in the game is that my opponent still castled, and I still got that very nice position where my opponent's king is very weak. They have a bad structure, and I'm just enjoying an advantage. Plus, I'm up a pawn. And the pawn that I'm up, actually, you know, is all the way back here, that we were equal, and I got to take this pawn. But basically, just I have 3 attackers, and, you know, black has only 2 defenders. So black had to release the pressure and take the pawn, but instead they went knight h5. And in this position, you know, I'm thinking, okay, I'm not in any danger of getting attacked. You know, my opponent has a quite weak king. You know, I will castle queenside, because, you know, castling kingside would also work, but here I'm just instantly getting my rooks to the center and, you know, playing more aggressively. Opponent blockades my pawn with bishop d7, a logical move. Now I bring my rook to the center, and here black makes another inaccuracy with b6, and there's like nothing particularly wrong with this move, but basically it just like doesn't really do anything. Like, I didn't have anything attacking the c5 pawn, and, you know, maybe in some situations, you know, white would want the b7 pawn here, or sorry, black would want the b7 pawn here to like use the bishop here on c6, target my g2 pawn, and things like this, right? Now, of course, like, here it's not that good of a move, but just theoretically in an endgame. Okay, and now I just go rook e7 because I look, okay, this bishop has, you know, nothing supporting it, but it's kind of important here, blockading my pawn. I'm activating my rook, I'm bringing an attacker, this quite weak f7 pawn, so things are looking good. So black defends here, best move, and I go rook d3. Just very simple idea, you know, trying to go g3 check, you know, deflect the king. Maybe then I can take the pawn. Maybe I can do some, maybe double my rooks, you know, something like the sample line. Let's say, I don't know. Let's say that, let's say that black goes for this bishop c6, for example. I think it's like the top 2 engine move. Okay, yeah. So like bishop f5, bishop c6, both work. Just why I was thinking bishop c6 is that, you know, you target this pawn, but, you know, whatever. So black goes, let's say here, you know, I give a check. Let's say king h8, and now, you know, I could just kind of take this pawn. However, you know, that would also give up that pawn here, so need to be a little bit careful. You know, engine says to take with a bishop. You know, also taking the a7 pawn is a completely fine move. And this is what I was like talking about, that why, like, you know, black would maybe want the pawn here, is that if the pawn was back here, then the bishop on c6 would be supported, and I could not take the a7 pawn, right? Okay, so whatever. I go d3, and here black, instead of like moving the bishop or trying to do anything productive, just simply blunders the bishop, completely losing the game. So I just, of course, I take the bishop. Black gives black gives a check. I block the check, and here black goes rook e4 and resigns. And I was just thinking here a little bit like, how do I win this position? I mean, obviously, like, my bishop is under attack, but like this pawn here is the strongest asset in my for me, right? So, and what I was calculating is bishop takes f7, which is the top 2 ancient move. And when bishop takes, I'm sacrificing the bishop, yes, but after king takes rook, the king is not in time, or more like the king is technically in time, to stop the pawn, but just the pawn is protected by the rook from the distance, so the king can't help. King here wouldn't, that just wouldn't do anything. If black tries to block my rook, then after we trade rooks, then I still get to queen. So the best try here would have probably been something like rook e8, which is also what the engine recommends, because here if I take the rook and queen, then king can take, and now it's like not very simple. I can't get in here with my rook. I have to go like rook d3, but then I can still just win all these pawns. It's a pretty simple endgame to win. But even a little bit better would have been to queen like this, because now when black takes, then I can take the rook, and my rook is already activated. So let's say if black tries to attack my rook, then I can go after this a7 pawn, create weaknesses in my opponent's position and just win the game. But yes, my opponent, back in this position, just resigned the game. And it was a very precisely played game here. If I look at the review, it says 95% accuracy, only two inaccuracies, and basically all other moves were either book moves or excellent or best moves. So a very well played game, and an estimated ELO of 1900, so that's pretty insane. But anyway, this is where we end the video. Hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something new, and I hope that it motivates you to play some more chess and get better. And yes, definitely play 30-minute chess. 10-minute chess, it's kind of fun, but there's just not enough time to calculate. 30-minute chess is the best kind of chess. Okay, hope you enjoyed, and goodbye.